Yeah, good afternoon. Just really excited to get started with this team. Obviously, spring football is about establishing the foundation of your team. We've got a lot of new faces, not only on the football team, but also on the staff. And so getting everybody together, seeing where we're at, and moving towards the direction of playing football games. For us, our goals for spring are pretty clear and identified and defined for us. Number one is individual player development. Let's see where these players are and see how much better we can make them. Two, lay the foundation of our schemes, offense, defense, and special teams. What are our strengths and what are we gonna be really good at? And then develop team toughness and resiliency. For us, we define a tough team as a team that can stop the run the ball, and cover kicks. So we want to emphasize those things during spring football, and then have that mental fortitude to sustain excellence even in the face of adversity. So excited about what we're fixing to get going on. And with that, I'll open it up to y'all for questions.
Start here, Mr. Hoff.
Coach, believe it or not, a quarterback question to start things off.
Let's go.
Yeah. Austin Simmons, just what did you see from him from an evaluation standpoint, and what have you seen from him since he's come to the building?
Yeah, excited about the quarterback competition that we're going to have this year. Obviously, I think Matt did an excellent job in his opportunity as a true freshman. And, for us, core value number one is always compete. And so there's going to have to be added competition, and we've got that with Austin Simmons, with Nick Evers, with Gavin Sidwar, and with Matt Zollers. As far as Austin, so far so good in his ability to.
Sorry.
It's like you're doing sign language.
Well, we got a new guy in here.
What's going on?
He just walked right in front of everything, trying to figure it out. We're good.
It's most beautiful. It's awesome.
Sorry about that.
No, Austin. What did I like about Austin? One, I think he's very competitive in nature. I think he's got natural talent as a quarterback, obviously. Very good arm talent, decision maker, has the ability to run. Obviously hasn't played a ton of football because of the injury last year, but when he has gotten his opportunity, has played at a really high level and high clip. Look forward to him working with Coach Riley and Coach Lindsey in the offense, and competing to see who the best quarterback is for our football team.
Here in the middle.
Coach, kind of sticking with the quarterbacks. I think last season, it's fair to say, it didn't go as expected for Matt Zollers. What's kind of the plan for him in 2026?
What do you mean didn't go as expected?
I'm not sure if there was a point where we thought Matt Zollers was going to be starting so many games
Yeah,
with the
there you
injuries
go.
and all. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. So what was the question again?
What's the plan and the goal for him in 2026?
Yeah, the goal is for him to be the very best quarterback that he can be, compete every single day to be the best version of himself, give himself the opportunity to compete for the starting quarterback job here, and if he doesn't, be the very best teammate that he can be as he's growing into that role. I thought, he was really thrown into some unadvantageous situations. I thought he handled it remarkably well. And I think you just got to continue to grow and get better and develop every day. And so that's the plan for him.
Back here on
Coach, obviously with all the turnover every year now in college football, you see new leadership emerge each year. Who are some of the players that you're seeing already begin to emerge as leaders for this year's team?
Yeah, that was one of the things in our, look back on things that we can do better and be better as coaches. I felt like last year I waited too long to allow leadership to emerge instead of, setting who the leaders would be. And so we actually have established captains for the spring. Obviously, Caden Green's returning captain, but Dom Judice and Nick Rodriguez will be the offense and defensive captains respectively for their sides of the ball. And those guys have been guys who have played at a high level for us, demonstrated an elite edge in the first floor and what they do, demonstrate what it means to live by the core values that we have, always compete, build trust and respect, do more than what's expected, and enjoy the journey while they've been here. And so those guys are establishing, hey, these are the standards that we have, these are the expectations of how you operate in this building at a high level, and they're doing a great job of making sure everybody meets those standards on a daily basis. Now, outside of those guys, I think Darius Smith, Langdon Kitchen have been excellent, Jeremiah Beasley, in the consistency in their approach on a day-to-day basis. Offensively, obviously, Tristan Wilson, Curtis Peetler, Brett Norfleet, Jordan Harris, Ahmad Hardy, Jamal Roberts. Those guys know what it means to be a Missouri Tiger and what the expectations are on a down-in, down-out basis. I think Blake Craig, coming off of injury, has been consistent in his approach, in how he's handled himself in this building. And I think it's somebody that everybody can look to for leadership.
Eli, when you graduate so many players on defense, what does it look like kind of revamping that group when you do lose so much of your top talent on defense?
Yeah, I was in Indy yesterday for NCAA Rules Committee meeting, and obviously have a lot of players at the combine, which is a good thing, but it's also a reminder of coming back here, you're starting over. But I think there's a foundation of who we are from a schematic standpoint, very, very much aligned on the defensive side of the ball from a coaching staff standpoint, and now it's just about, either bringing players in that fit our scheme or developing the current players that we have. Take what you want, or take what you have and make it to what you want is kind of the thought right now on the defensive side of the ball. We've got a lot of really good players that we brought in, and then we've got players that we're working really hard to develop, and have a lot of faith and confidence in the defensive side of the ball to do what we need to do, which is stop the run, confuse, harass, hit the quarterback, and be elite situational football.
Cody.
Hired 2 coordinators this offseason, Chip and John, is it Papuchas?
It is, JP, if you don't know it very well.
Go with that. What kind of led to you hiring them, and then what do you hope that they bring to their respective units?
Yeah, I think, I'll start with special teams. Obviously, an opportunity to kind of bring some new ideas, fresh ideas to our special teams. I think Coach Link did an excellent job, and we have a tremendous amount of respect for who he is and what he did for us at the University of Missouri. But had been here for 6 seasons, and in this league, sometimes you got to get some new ideas, fresh blood in. And I think Coach Papuchas, with his experience around college football, whether it's been at UNC, at Maryland, at FSU, at Nebraska, at LSU, he's got a lot of really good experience. He's got an excellent teaching progression. He's got new ideas and new ways that we will approach special teams. A lot of the fundamental things are similar to what we've done, but the schematics are different. And so it'll be a new voice. Him and Jonathan Rutledge, as Brock went off to join the Dolphins, and Eric went in a new direction, gives us an opportunity to bring fresh ideas into our program. As far as Chip Lindsey, very excited to get him on our staff. Chip and I have never really worked together, but we know of each other. We've crossed some of the same paths, and felt like he has a lot of experience in this league. He's been through these battles and wars. He's coached at a really high level at a lot of different places, and feel like he has a low ego, high output. Obviously has a history of quarterback development. He's got plenty of pelts on the wall from the quarterbacks that he's developed in the offensive schemes that he's had. And so to be able to bring him in, combine him with the staff that we have, bring in some other voices from the outside with Alex and Garrett, I thought has been a really good addition. Look forward to seeing what they do offensively.
Coach, just looking back at this transfer portal cycle at large, I know in years past you've kind of had the production of a potential line that gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
That still applied this cycle. Just what do you make of what you guys were able to do in the portal?
Yeah, I think there's both cases for both. I think there was a lot of production taken when you're talking about like Josh Atkins, and you're talking about Robert Woodyard Jr., and then or Caleb Goody, or when you're also talking about Honeycomb, Caden Lee or Kinsley Falston. Those guys have a lot of experience, played a lot of football. Nick Evers is a guy that's played a lot of snaps. And then you've got other guys that do have potential that maybe you can add, that you see something that maybe fits your scheme and how you want to utilize them. I think Austin Simmons is a great example of that. I think Luke Work's the guy who started a lot of football at Mississippi State, but maybe not had the same opportunity or fit into their scheme system as he will ours. From an outside zone standpoint, Nashawn Montgomery's a guy that has an explosive past, and as far as his ability to run routes, and has a familiarity with Donovan Olubade, so being able to combine those guys. Jaden Jones, JP had familiarity with from being from Florida State, so him being sidelined with some injuries kind of gave us some insight into potential, future potential of what you could do. So, everyone was a little bit different, and kind of take what you got budget-wise, and then figure out what what are the players that are available, and put it together the best you can for the offensively, we return a lot of players, especially in the core. So we didn't necessarily have to have as much experience. You know, you get Caden Lee and Caleb Goody who have had a lot of production. Defensively was a little bit different with just the amount of player loss from graduation and including the portal. So it was just kind of a mix and match of, okay, well, we feel really good about Santana Banner being a returning starter for us at the safety room. So maybe we didn't feel the need to have to go get that much experience at that position. You know, Chris Graves has played a ton of football, so we felt really confident in one of the corner positions, and then maybe allow some development competition with a couple of guys who have played a lot, maybe got dinged up and injured. So, you know, it's kind of a formula to put all of that together. You know, it's that scene from Moneyball. You know, you just throw the deal up. We're trying to replace this many at bats and figure out how we're going to do it. Form that player in the aggregate, right?
Coach, kind of along those lines, who are some guys who are either on the team or not on the team last year, but played smaller roles that you're looking to maybe recreate some of that loss and step up into bigger roles?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt at the defensive tackle position. We feel really strongly about Marquise Graciel and Jalen Marshall. I think those two guys played well in their roles last year, and now it's an opportunity for their roles to really expand and be bigger. And I think we got to ask Sam Williams to do that. I think we got to ask Jason Dow to do that. Obviously, we got Dante coming in from Miami, who didn't really play a big role, but has the potential to do that. But those guys have been in this system. They know the teaching. They understand. It's their time. And you look at the progression of players that we've had here at that position. You know, that's what Chris McClellan did. He developed into that senior year. Christian Williams developed into that senior year. Jaden Jernigan developed into that senior year. And so that's the jump we're looking to make with those guys. I think Darius Smith's a guy, or Langdon Kitchen. You know, those guys, you look at Z's production as a junior and then makes the jump as a senior. You know, it's those guys' opportunity and time that they need to do that. You know, on the offensive side of the ball, time will tell. Obviously, it starts with the quarterback for us. We've got to get consistent quarterback play that doesn't turn the ball over, pushes the ball down the field, consistently creates opportunities for us, first downs through the air, which, you know, late in the season we just weren't able to do. We had way too much reliance on the run game and weren't able to exploit the one-on-one opportunities that we had. And so, you know, that's going to be for us really what we have to figure out this spring.
Dr. Nally?
Eli, curious what's important for Blake Craig this spring, and you know, what does it look like trying to get him back into the action after that injury?
Yeah, you know, we got to be really smart. We can't put Blake in a position where he's trying to do too much too soon. So there is a protocol from a doctor's standpoint and what he can and can't do. And won't have a lot of kickoff responsibility. In fact, I probably won't have any throughout until June. But he is able to get some he is able to get some field goals, and we are adjusting our field goal formation with Coach JP as our special teams coordinator. So there will need to be some work in that role, which he'll be able to do. It just won't be, you know, we won't be asking him to kick a lot of long yardage stuff until we're 100% sure that his leg is full. You know, the good thing is with Bruno has the ability, he's a combo guy. You know, he will be able to kick off for us this spring and obviously handle the primary punt duties, but he will also be our backup.
Cody, and let me know if anybody else has anything else.
You mentioned Josh Adkins coming in from Arizona State. A lot of experience at left tackle. Do you see him moving over and playing right, or what do you think he'll bring to the offensive line?
Yeah, the anticipation right now is that he'll play right tackle, compete with Logan Reichert, who's another guy that we need to step up, that we have an excitement for. He's healthy for the first time, he's really coming along in the right direction. And so him and you know, Jack Lang and some of those young guys that we've had in our program competing, but Josh will move to the right side. And I look forward to that offensive line being a really big key to our success. They've got a lot of depth, got a lot of competitive depth. It ought to be a really healthy competition. I love the way Dom and Caden have really taken that group over and made it theirs and demanded a standard within that group. I think they're operating at a really high level right now, just from their day in, day out expectation of themselves. in the work that they're putting in. And obviously they've got they have premier running backs and premier tight ends. And so if those guys can handle their business, it can be a real strength for us this year.
At running back, what's different, if there is anything different, about Ahmad Hardy at this time this year than when he was coming into the building last year?
I think he's got 4 horses now. I think last year he had 1, so the pay raise has really helped out. His ability to garner horses. He's a horse trader. No, I think there's I should have pointed him out in his leadership. He understands to whom much is given, much is required, and I think he's done a really good job of pushing himself and understanding how he lives outside of this building affects how he performs on the field. He's got to be better in his sleep habits and his nutrition habits, and how he approaches his day in, day out life. And I think he's understanding this is an opportunity for him to really invest in himself and his future and his family's future. If he can get it right, he's got a hell of an offensive line in front of him that knows how to run the outside zone, and we're going to feature him. He's got an unbelievable co-conspirator with him in Jamal Roberts, so he doesn't have to handle the load all by himself. It's not like they can just key on stopping Ahmad. And now he's got some really good weapons on the outside that are going to create, they're not going to be able just to play man and put an extra hat in the box to mirror him. I mean, they're going to have to honor Caleb's speed and Honeycomb's ability to get open in the middle, and Donovan Alubede's catch radius, and I'm excited about some of these other guys that can really play at the wide receiver position. So, Sean Terry was a guy that we were really excited about, got hampered by a knee injury last spring and never really got fully healthy again, and man, he's had an unbelievable offseason so far, and I'm really excited about him, and so it's going to be good.
2 more, we'll start here.
Eli, going back to Austin Simmons, I mean, how much like history do you have with left-handed quarterbacks, and does that kind of affect anything with the offensive planning when you have a quarterback battle?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of history with left-handed quarterbacks, but the truth of it is, if a left-handed quarterback actually ends up playing for you, they usually turn out to be really good because they have had to overcome a lot of bias. You look at Kellen Moore at Boise State. You look at a guy named Steve Young. Those guys had to overcome a lot of bias to get that opportunity, and then they turned out to play really, really well. It will affect some of the crux of beliefs that coaches have about quarterbacks, like you don't ever boot to the offhand of the quarterback. So we might have to be conscientious of that. I think there is some conscientious things that I've challenged both Garrett and Chip to make sure we're aware of in our scripting, to make sure that we're not putting our quarterback in a negative spot. But other than that, he's got to go play some football, and I'm sure he's been battling that stigmatism his whole life of being the lefty.
Finish up here with Cody.
You mentioned the 6 guys at the combine this week. It seems that NFL GMs used to look down on guys who may have transferred, and maybe now they view it more as a positive. All 6 guys at the combine from Mizzou this week transferred to Mizzou.
Yeah.
I was curious if you just had any thoughts on why that might be.
Why those 6 guys who transferred from Mizzou at the combine?
Well, why GMs might view transfers as maybe a little bit more favorable than they used to.
Because they have to, because everybody's transferred. It's interesting. I've last year our top 2 picks were guys that were homegrown. In 2023, 5 of the 6 picks were homegrown. This year, it just happens to be the 6 that were there are transfers, and I will argue till I'm blue in the face that Toriano Pride and Chris McClellan have been mine the whole time. They just happened to take a detour for a few years, but I think it's just a new landscape of college football. I think you can classify transfers in really a couple of different categories, I think you just have to know what was the circumstances of each one. I think about Keegan. He was a guy who was always looking for better competition and an opportunity to test himself. Whether he started at Morgan State, and I think he went to Indiana or Illinois State, and then Indiana State, then Wake Forest, then us. And each year was a step up in competition, and each year he just dominated the competition. And so it wasn't like he was a mercenary just chasing the money. It was about what was best for him. And some guys get processed out. Their school didn't have the opportunity for them the way that they wanted it, and so they went for a better opportunity and proved themselves worthy of that opportunity. And now, there's coaching changes. There's all kinds of stories or reasons why guys leave. I think it's about production on the field and what kind of character they have. And obviously, the NFL has a lot of ways that they can check into that. I hope that they'll look at, since we've been here, we've been really good stewards of the guys that have left here and their production in the NFL and the type of players they've been for the programs that they're at. You think about, I had a phone call with Coach McVay. He was checking in on one of our assistant coaches and talking about both Cody Schrader while he was there and Harrison Mevis was just an awesome conversation because he was telling me about the mentality of those guys, and that's a direct reflection of Coach Russ on our first floor and developing a lead edge. So, I think just seeing some of the tweets and highlights on the combine so far, it's been a real positive reflection of how guys, view our coaching staff and view their maturity of coming through our program, which is a highlight for us.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Yeah, thank y'all. Look forward to seeing y'all out at some practices. If